Hey y'all, I had some requests on how to do this with a tutorial, so here it is. First I peel off the film on the blank, one side of the blank. Then I take some resin, go across the center of the blank, and then spread it out evenly. You can make this as thin or as thick as you would like. It's really just preference. I usually cover it about 1/3 of the disc. Then I take some glitter, start sprinkling that on there. This glitter that I'm using is a mix of ultra fine, chunky, and extra chunky glitter. I like these because it just gives each of the keychains a little bit more dimension. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling out some of the pieces of chunky glitter and just kind of strategically placing them around on the keychain. We want to make sure we're not just dumping it on there, but that we are spreading it out nice and evenly so that it creates a soft surface. After that's done, I go back through and just sprinkle a little bit more to get it nice and even. And then I always take my heat gun and go over it. The heat gun just spreads it out nice and evenly so that you have a nice smooth surface when you go to lay down your vinyl. I'm going to pop that in my UV light for about a minute and then go ahead and weave out the name. Once it's all weaved out, I'm going to use some transfer tape to go over the name and then make sure it's pressed down really nicely on there so that it'll transfer over evenly. And then I'm also going to weave out the paint stroke that I cut out on my Cricut. I'm going to transfer that over to the tape as well. Press down, make sure it's really on there. You want to make sure that it's extra sticky on there because sometimes transferring straight onto the resin, it tends to peel up a little bit. So I always make sure I put just a little bit of extra pressure so that way it will transfer over evenly. Then for this step, we are just going to take some resin to seal the back. I always seal the front and the back of all of my keychains just so that it keeps everything where we want it to be and then also ensures that it lasts longer for the customer. Once you have it spread out nice and evenly, I take the heat gun. The heat gun removes any bubbles that may come from the resin. Sometimes when you are pouring the resin, you'll get some bubbles. So the heat gun gets rid of those bubbles and then also evens everything out. I pop that into my UV light for a little bit, and this is where we're at. Next, I'm going to weave out the initial for the keychain. Add my transfer tape. And then we're going to add it to the keychain. Then we're going to take the name that we weaved earlier, make sure we center it up nice and evenly, press that down. And then finally, we are going to seal the front with some resin as well. We're going to follow the same steps as we did to seal the back. So we're going to spread it out nice and evenly around. Once we have it all spread out, we are going to hit it with the heat gun. Again, the heat gun is going to make sure it gets rid of any little bubbles. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see in the camera, but If you don't get those bubbles out, you'll see it'll look like dust or little specks in your design, and definitely don't want that. We want it nice and smooth and even. So here we are. Now we're going to add the keychain. So you take one of the little jump rings, add the keychain loop on it. You'll close this up. You'll go to the top of the keychain. We're going to open this one up so we can add the tassel in there. And then we're going to close that back up. And that is it. That is the full tutorial of our resin highlight keychain. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.